We're back out at the beautiful Banner shooting range, and today we're doing our first range report on the new, for the tail end of 2025, Springfield Hellcat 380. That's right, you heard it right. HS Product, who makes this firearm, Springfield sells it under license in the US as the Hellcat, now make a 380 version of the popular Hellcat Micro Compact Double Stack Magazine Fed Pistol. It honestly surprises me that it took them this long to release this firearm, though here we are with a firearm I thought we'd never see, a 380 version of the Hellcat. Dimensionally, in terms of height, length, width, same size as the 9mm version of the Hellcat, though it's about 2 ounces lighter in weight. I don't know, something like 1.8 ounces, so slightly lighter in weight. Let's put it to the test today. Our first magazine will be an 11-round magazine with Blazer aluminum 95 grain full metal jacket. I'll do this center mass at our Blue Man Group target out there. Here we go. Okay, loaded chamber indicator. You can see the end of the cartridge in there. The sights are a tack and rack U-notch rear sight with a tritium night sight front sight. Here we go. Okay, a few shots a little low of the green zone. A few shots in the green zone, maybe one in the bullseye. Right off the bat on that first magazine, very light recoil on this firearm. Dare I say, pleasant to shoot. Let's do the 13-round magazine. This is loaded with the Winchester Range and Target 95 grain full metal jacket. That flat point ammo that gives some firearms problems. Let's see if it functions in our Hellcat 380. Okay, no problems. Looks like we're shooting a hair low. Breaking wrist down, pushing forward, or drooping head. Probably drooping head. Very mild on the recoil. Right off the bat, one thing, at least with the 13-round magazine, that I would say I'm not a fan of. I'll try to get this on the camera for you so we don't point the firearm at anybody. You can see where there's this little notch cut out in the bottom of the grip frame. And there's a slight gap here. And shooting it in my normal right-handed grip, trying to get in on the action, where you can see my pinky covers up that gap. It kind of pinches my pinky right there when we're shooting. So we'll see if that same thing happens when we shoot left-handed here a little later today. As a measuring stick of this Hellcat 380, we polled our audience and they said they wanted to see it go head-to-head against a double stack 380. I brought along what I considered to be the main competitor as far as size, capacity, features to the Hellcat 380, the firearm we've shot multiple times on the channel, the SIG P365 380. The Hellcat is a competitor to the P365 and 9mm, so it makes sense in 380. Well, with both having 380 versions that are optics ready, attachment rail, night sights, that the P365 380 would be the competitor to the Hellcat. Let's do a magazine of that. I will aim at the cranium zone for this and our 12-round magazine. First one will be the Blazer 95 grain full metal jacket. Here we go. Yeah, I guess I only had 11 in that one. Similar to the Hellcat, very mild recoil, very easy to control, gets back on target quick. Let's do that second 12-round magazine here. Same thing at the cranium zone. This time with that Winchester range and target. Okay. Both firearms, as far as their recoil impulse, feel very similar. I don't think the range would let me do a blindfolded Pepsi challenge to test it, but my gut says recoil impulse, very similar, very mild on the recoil, which would make sense with these firearms being chambered in 380 and accommodating a full hand grip that for some people will be in the Goldilocks zone. For some people, it'll be a hair on the thin side. You'd probably have to have the strong arm to think that the grip is a little bit on the wide side, but there may be people out there who feel that way as well. As a second test between our P365 and our Hellcat, we're going to do some one-handed shooting. I'll do the Hellcat at the bottom 8-inch target, P365 at the top 8-inch target. I've put 10 rounds of the Winchester range and target in our magazine. I'll do 5 shots with my right-handed grip, transition to left-handed, 5 shots with our left-handed grip with both firearms, and we'll see if we can put any hits on that 8-inch target. Here we go. Okay, I think 2 in the 8 ring, 1 in the 9 ring, 1 just off the bullseye. I might have miscounted. We'll find out. Here we go. Okay, I didn't miscount. Though left-handed, 1 at the far right edge of the 8 ring, 1 at the top at about 12 o'clock in the 8 ring. 1 maybe on the, well, that could be right-handed. 2 more might be far to the right off the paper. Just guesswork on that. Let's see if we can do any better or similar with our P365. Same ammo, top right 8-inch target. Here we go. Okay, 2 in the bullseye, 1 just off the bullseye, 1 in the 9 ring, 1 in the 8 ring, 5 for 5 on the target right-handed. failure to feed. Let's load that back in. We were in the groove. We had 4 of 4 on the target. Okay, that threw me out of rhythm. A 4 of 5 left-handed with a failure to feed. 5 of 5 right-handed. I would say 2 factors came into play as far as the difference in the one-handed accuracy on day 1 anyway. The first being, while the U-notch rear sight, tritium front sight on the Hellcat are perfectly adequate for a self-defense sight system, I prefer, at least between the 3-dot sight system and the U-notch sight system, I prefer the 3-dot sight system. I find it a little easier to line up the sights than on this U-notch sight system. Another factor that comes into play is the difference in trigger pull weight. On my P365, it's about 4 pounds, maybe a smidge over 4 pounds. Hellcat, it's more like 5.5 or a little half over 5.5 pounds. 1.5-ish pounds doesn't sound like a big difference, though in terms of trigger pull weight, in my experience, it can be a world of difference. To continue our comparison today, we are now going to do a velocity comparison. What I'm going to do is from each firearm, we're going to fire 2 different types of self-defense ammo that we frequently shoot on the channel. The first, we're going to do Hornady Critical Defense. It's the 90 grain FTX, kind of like a ballistics tip. The second 5 we'll do from each firearm is going to be the Hornady American Gunner 90 grain XTP, or Extreme Terminal Performance Hollow Point. We're going to start with that Hornady Critical Defense. I'm going to rotate the camera around so you can actually see the display on the Doppler 1 here. Starting with our Hellcat 380 bottom left target, Hornady Critical Defense 90 grain FTX. Here we go, 5 shots. $941, $936, $961, $960, $967. Hey, that's not good. I wonder if that one's a little bit out of spec. Let's try. Here we go. I'll have to pull one out of the box. So here we go. 947, 931, 929, 939. Here we go. 5th shot for the Doppler. $923. Okay, average with the Hellcat, $953. Average with the P365, $934. Close enough to where we're going to call those numbers the same. All right, let's do our American Gunner now. Hellcat will be the top left target. 950. 948, 946, 913, 956. That 913 is going to drag the average down a little, but it is what it is. And now our SIG P365 top right-hand target. Here we go. As you could probably tell there, the magazines for the P365 being 9mm footprint don't fit in the Hellcat. 906, 930, 888, 924, 899. Wow. Okay, we see quite a bit of difference between the Hellcat and the P365 on the American Gunner. Hellcat average 943, P365 910. To finish out our shooting portion of the video today, before we get into the pros and cons of this brand new Hellcat 380, I've created our own custom challenge target out there that has a 3-inch target, two what we'll call 2.5-inch targets, and two 1-inch targets that kind of go a U around the 3-inch target. We're going to do 12 shots with each firearm. It'll be 2 shots at the 3-inch target, 2 shots at the left hand 2.5-inch, 2 shots at the right hand 2.5-inch target, and then 3 shots at each of the 2 1-inch targets that are set up for both firearms. I have 2 sets of these targets out there on a white backer that has no hits on it. So if we don't hit the target, we can at least gauge how close we came. I'll start with our Hellcat 380. Here we go. Okay, we got our first shot almost in the bullseye on that 3-inch target. We completely missed the 2 1-inch targets. It looks like I missed the left hand 2.5-inch target. The right hand 2.5-inch target, I have 1 hit at the perimeter. Let's see if we can do any better with our P365. Here we go. In similar fashion, I've got 1 on the 3-inch target. I was just off the 2 1-inch targets. A little closer than on the Hellcat, but still misses. On the bottom left 2.5-inch target, both our hits are on that target, though no hits on the bottom right target. So even though I feel like I might be slightly more accurate today with the P365 380, I don't think there was enough of a difference in terms of where our holes hit on paper to say that there is a noticeable difference in terms of what we'll call the accuracy potential between these two firearms. Let's dive into the conclusion to today's video, and we'll go over what I'd consider the top 3 pros and cons of the new Hellcat 380. Now, on the pros side, given the firearm that it went head-to-head against in today's video, for those people that absolutely refuse to do business with SIG, if you don't know, Google what their PR fiasco is. The Hellcat would be an excellent option if someone was looking for the P365, but they don't want to do business with SIG. While we have a short sample so far today, only a couple hundred rounds of ammo, a short sample of defensive ammo, so far the firearm has been very reliable. It's certainly more accurate than the shooter, and the accuracy potential, I would say, is on the very good side. Optics ready, so if you're not someone like me that prefers iron sights, you can mount a optic that uses the Shield RMS or SMS, might be SMSC. I'll put a little flasher up there. Something with the Shield RMS or SMS footprint you can direct mount to the slide of this Hellcat if you prefer an optic. The Springfield or HS product people have some great marketing people out there. Industry leading magazine capacity. Where I live, it came with an 11 and a 13 round magazine. On your stock P365, it comes with 10 round magazines. Excuse me, 10, not 12. In the XL configuration that I'm shooting today, 12 round magazines. So you figure 1 round advantage, either in the 10 at 11 or 13 compared to 12. But either way, they eke in there with a 1 round advantage. The texture on this firearm, they call the adaptive grip texture. A staggered triangle configuration where there's a mix of short and tall triangles. The tall triangles have blunt tops. The short triangles have real pointed, which is supposed to help lock the grip of the firearm to your hand. Now, a 9mm, I would say nay, nay. But in the low recoil version of the 380, it's very easy to hold, very easy to control. So on the pro side, again, if you're looking for something like a micro compact double stack, not so much pocketable, but still in that very compact frame. Now, in addition to the SIG, you have the excellent option in the Hellcat 380. The trigger is pretty good in that 5.5 to 6 pound range, though it has the trigger safety that, again, SIG doesn't have. So people that want a safety, an external safety, I should say, have that option. Though, curiously enough, and I feel like this is just a matter of time before we see it, is as of the day one release of this firearm, there is no manual thumb safety version, like say my Hellcat 9mm has, though again, I feel like that's coming. Sights are very good. Accuracy is very good. Reliability very good. We got a good option here. Now, as far as downsides, there are a few downsides to this firearm. The most obvious downside many people will throw out against this firearm is they'll say it in some form of, why would you get the 380 when you could has the same, essentially the same gun in 9mm, same capacity, same size? And a lot of that, in my opinion, comes down to recoil. And are you able to handle the recoil of 9mm? I don't mean just to shoot it. I mean handle it as far as if you're going to do multiple shots in rapid succession, do you have to constantly change your grip to maintain your point of accuracy, or can you competently shoot a 9mm version? While many people will gravitate towards that 9mm for more stopping power and cheaper ammo, more people will probably find it more comfortable to shoot the 380 version. Now, another downside to this would be, well, being chambered in 380, your ammo is more expensive. Some people will say, just buy your ammo in bulk on the internet, which sounds great and all, but once you factor in things like shipping, how long it takes to get there, etc., you still don't save as much as when you're, say, buying 9mm ammo. Now, the third downside of this firearm, in my opinion, is price. When I bought this P365 380 brand new day one, $399 plus tax. Very cheap, at least compared to today. Nowadays, this same gun, new in store, it's $500. And unfortunately, this Springfield Hellcat 380 in my opinion, is in that too expensive boat. It's about $585 plus tax in stores, so quite a bit more expensive than what I would call the sweet spot price point of $399, where I feel like these firearms should be priced. Maybe as high as $499, but let's be real, they should be $399, and they're not anymore. And the Hellcat suffers from that, though so too does the SIG these days. There you go. There are some pros and cons of the Hellcat 380. Let us know in the comments, are you going to look at this Hellcat 380 and do you think it's a valuable option for your self-defense toolbox? Or is there a reason you're going to avoid it? Let us know. Well, anyway, that seems like the perfect spot to end today's video. If you enjoyed our presentation, like the video, share it with your friends and family. Those things are free and they really help us out a lot. If you didn't enjoy the video, go ahead and like it anyway. No one's going to know that you did it, and it helps us out a lot. If you'd like to help us make more of these videos in the future, look into becoming a member. Fred and I really appreciate you getting this far. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.